some of the other points that I'd put out. Are we being naive or at least idealistic by criticizing or talking to the issue of the political appointees, Ruth? Because in the previous administration, there was the attempt to include technocrats, but we saw it was largely good on paper, but practically speaking, the true colors showed, especially in the campaigns of some of the CSs who are now on their way out. The politicians, this is just politics at play and would happen anyway, at least from your view as a political strategist, would you say? Well,
what I'd like to say is that, remember, I don't think it would have been different if Raila Odinga, for instance, became president. Because remember, in his proposals for through BBI, he had mentioned that he would have wished to see that politicians appointed as cabinet secretaries. Remember that. In the BBI proposals, one of the proposals was that a certain percentage of the cabinet would be politicians. And you see, we should be very careful to not think that just because a cabinet is full of politicians, it would be ineffective. Because at the end of the day, politicians are leaders. And you know, what we are looking for is leaders. We are not looking for saints. We are looking for leaders. We are not in a church. We are now looking for leaders. And some of these politicians are people who've led their counties, constituencies for quite some time. And they've actually brought about change and development. When you look at their record in terms of parliament, the kind of changes they have brought in terms of legislation, they have proven to be people who can bring forth policy. And being a cabinet secretary is all about policy. And that is why I'm saying, let's not be so quick to fight the likes of Aisha Jumwa, because as a legislator, there must be some legislations she must have pushed for. If not pushed for, she must have added her voice to, meaning that she can be a policy maker, you know, regardless of what people would want to say in terms of her academic qualifications. And as I finish and close, I mean, I'd like to say that we are watching to see whether these people deliver or not. And if we get to a point where they're not delivering for us, may the president act like Kibaki. You change your cabinet. If they're not working, fukuza ye waende nyumbani, new people come in, take over, because at the end of the day, all we want is a country that is stable and functioning.
Speaking to that point, Suba, on the issue of technocrats, as you saw it envisioned in the constitution-making process, now there are more politicians. It is rewarding, let's call it as it is. But the president did indicate that these cabinet secretaries will be held to account and will be summoned in Parliament, not just with the committees, but to answer to direct questions from the members of the National Assembly. Do you see this as a good thing in holding them to account?
You know, first of all, I want to say as I conclude that the president has actually implemented BBI proposals.
Yes.
That he vehemently opposed.
Yes.
One, he has appointed prime cabinet secretary. There's no difference with the prime minister thing. Secondly, the proposal that these cabinet secretaries will be answering questions on the floor of parliament. That was a BBI proposal.
Yes.
Which takes us to the point that there's really nothing in politics that is bad or good. What normally matters to politicians is who is pushing it. Now we are seeing the president steadily and consciously implementing the BBI without calling it such. My first worry with this cabinet is that whereas in 2013 we never had any single elected leader being asked to step down for appointment, this time we have had the largest. We had one in 2017. I think it was Charles Keter being asked to step down as senator for Kericho.
Yes.
But it was the only one because somebody felt that he would be the most strategic to handle the energy docket. And of course, we know what happened in the energy docket thereafter. And that's why, you know, when we had one of the papers saying David Chirchir holds the key, we have had stories about scandals in the energy docket, which, if they were to continue, would really hurt the intention to lower the cost of energy. But for the first time, we have serving senators and members of National Assembly being appointed into the cabinet. And surely, do we have to go through those by-elections? In Bungoma, for example, where the speaker, Moses Wetangula, comes from, in Elegero Marakwet, why did they go for this if really their intention was to serve in the cabinet? In Garissa Township, for example, where Dendwale comes from, honestly, in, you know, Kandara, where, you know, Mheshimiwa Alice Lawome comes from. I think that in a government that claims to have come to power and inherited an empty coffers, as the Deputy President put it, these by-elections are going to cost us a lot of money that could have been avoided. And so the fact that we have a political cabinet, including people who are still in office as senators, as members of National Assembly, is not a good thing.